Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Wolves of Shadowed Fate. Episode 20. Chapter 108 to 113. Graham's POV. How dare she? Cheryl was supposed to fall apart. I knew I had her almost ready to break because she was near the end. She was supposed to be the one to waste away over Blake. That was what I wanted to happen. I was almost there too. As we speed to get to where they are, I already know that when we get there, I am going to kill Cheryl. I don't care if Blake tries to stop me or not. I am going to kill her for taking my Cassandra away from me. I felt it the moment it happened and I howled out in pain as I collapsed to the ground. It almost killed me, and I drove myself to the front of the pack house, as I couldn't walk. I could barely drive, let alone stand due to the pain of losing my mate. I knew Cheryl was close to the end, I could tell it clearly, even with her pretending to be okay. I have never seen her looking so bad before. All the years of lying to Blake. The hints at her infidelity and betrayal. All my implying about her love for Brandon has been breaking Blake down all these years. I put in all this work for the last 7 years, and now it was completely ruined. She killed the love of my life. I swear to the goddess herself that I will be hunting Cheryl and her son down if they manage to get away. I will tear them both apart. She deserved it for taking Cassandra away from me. My life is over as I no longer wanted to live anymore. I am willing to pay someone to find her and bring her to me so I can kill her with my bare hands. Nothing will ever be okay again. I don't know how she could have even done it. Cassandra was her friend, how could she have done something so terrible? Cassandra was the most innocent of us all. The worst part was that Cheryl had clearly planned this whole thing out. I remember that cold smile she gave me last night when Cassandra begged to go with them. That BH had Cassandra actually begging to be allowed to leave the pack with them, only for Cheryl to kill her. I knew she was mad, no change that, I knew that Cheryl was furious at me. She knew it was me pushing Blake all these years. That I was the one slowly tearing them apart. She has known for years, so why didn't she expose me, or tell Blake? I have no idea. But she didn't and that was her own fault. I knew he would never listen to her, even if she did. I had him so immersed in my allegations, that he wouldn't have listened to anyone. I am going to have to do some damage control after I take care of my Cassandra. Luckily, Blake is upset at losing Kara, and Cheryl has killed her too. I will be bringing this up, and wanting some payback for his mate losing her mind. Maybe I can get Reagan and her kids brought back here to Black Moon to keep me from getting the pack fired up at what his mate did. I could build her a home right next door to mine, so I won't be quite as lonely. Maybe find a new chosen mate, or at least a girlfriend. Some of Blake's girlfriends are quite lovely, I will have to speak to them at dinner tonight. I am still in very good shape, and quite rich. I am sure one or more of them would be interested in me. I quickly let that thought go, Blake will need them for comfort. I will wait until I have mourned the loss of my perfect Luna. She supported me no matter what I did, and I am so hurt at losing her. Cheryl could have stopped me, and my plans. I actually wanted to see her try to do just that. I knew that Cheryl was the one who had the idea of Reagan becoming a breeder. What a slap in the face, and there is no worse punishment for a woman in a pack. I knew it, and so did Cassandra, but we could not stop it. The only other option was death, and that was not actually an option. I honestly thought that Blake would let her come back sooner or later after he had a chance to calm down. But no amount of money I offered made him change his mind. Reagan was scarred up now and damaged. That should have never happened, and it was all because of Blake and Cheryl sending her there to have to live as a breeder for the rest of her life. I still have my payback for Garrett and Mark coming. Just because I have been focused on Blake and Cheryl right now, didn't mean that they were dodging their punishment. Their lies were the reason that Reagan had been RD, and assaulted at Blood Tracker. I was just waiting for the best time to put that plan into play. No one is going to get away with messing with Sullivan. We pulled to a sudden stop and I jumped out to run up to where Billy was standing. I can tell that she is in shock. And I started looking around for Cherry and Kevin. I was hoping that they were still here, as punishment needs to be swift in this. I look down and see my beautiful mate, and I cannot get to her fast enough. All my plans to replace her are gone in an instant as I look at her. She is still beautiful in death. I hold her to me and cried as I rock her back and forth as if she was a baby. My beautiful Luna was killed for no reason. She had nothing to do with this. I was the one who was punishing Blake and her. Cassandra had nothing to do with it. Why would she kill her? It made no sense at all to me, and I struggled to get her up the slope. Some of the warriors off to help, after they carried the other two up, but I needed to do this. I got her into this, and I need to get her out of it too. My tears kept falling, and I have no idea how I am going to tell Reagan about this. Reagan knew what I was doing. Even though Reagan didn't encourage me to do it, she also didn't tell me not to do it. It would have been pointless anyway, just like me trying to stop her from carrying out her own agenda would be too. She is going to know that this is my fault at the root of it. She knew what I was doing, and she warned me about crossing Blake. She cautioned me that she was in a good place now, and I am glad she had Clive, but I felt that I had to do this. I had to let them know that their vicious plans for Reagan brought this punishment down on their heads. That they cannot do whatever they want to. I sat on the ground for a few minutes and see that they are ready to leave. We have 2 dead bodies in the back of Blake's truck, but I cannot put my beautiful Luna in there like she was trash. I know that Billy is still freaked out by what happened and I needed answers, like where Cheryl was. I will never allow her to get away with this. I need to know if she knows where Cheryl was headed, but I doubt she knows. Anyone that knows Billy knows that she can't hold water. I can tell that Billy was freaked out about losing her best friend. She and Cassandra were as thick as thieves. She loved Cassandra and that was the only reason that I am not screaming at her right now. We will find out tonight, together, as I want to sit in on her being questioned too. I will tell Blake that when we get back. I will not allow them to make plans for Cheryl unless I am involved too. I will be making my own plans, especially if she can be located. I will make sure that she and Kevin never return here if I have any say at all in it. I can see the warrior driving keep glancing back at me. My grief is heavy on me, and I am still in shock at this sudden change of events. I mean, I just kissed her goodbye less than 30 minutes ago. How could this have happened? It just doesn't seem real. This is not right and I refuse to accept it. I know the reason for Cheryl's smile now. She wanted me to know that not only was she paying me back by doing this, but that she got Cassandra to beg to come on her very last trip. I never thought that Cheryl had it in her. If I had, and knew what was going to happen, I really would have left it alone like Reagan asked me to. We arrived back at Black Moon and I asked for them to drive me to the Pack Hospital. I have built onto the original hospital, and we have a state-of-the-art hospital now. It isn't massive, but it is a good size to take care of our pack. I want to bury Cassandra, and I wanted to ask Blake if Reagan could come for a small service. I will strike while the iron is hot, and play on his guilt as soon as I can. I would like for her to be able to come and pay her respects to her mom. With all the security and safety measures that Blake has put in place throughout the last 15 years, we have never been attacked. It has been a safe place to live and I have appreciated how well we have been treated here. The only exception was with what had happened with Reagan here at Black Moon, but she freely admitted her fault in that. We didn't have a morgue, but we had a cold room where she could be stored for now. Some of the medicine needed to be refrigerated and I wanted her to be put in a bag and rolled on a gurney into the cold storage for now. Some of the nurses had looked horrified at my request, but after I growled they ended up helping me get it done. I knew that they were going to tell Blake, and I didn't care. His mate killed mine, for no reason. I needed them to give me a little leeway here. Blake had no defense in it, and he was going to have to go along with whatever I wanted. I have the upper hand here, as my mate hadn't killed anyone. I may have started the ball rolling, but Cheryl really didn't have to kill anyone. That was uncalled for and violent. It is best that she is gone because Goddess knows what she would do to me if she wasn't. I need to go ahead and speak to Blake right now. I would like Reagan here, it would help me to start the healing process, and I have never in my life felt this bad before. I went straight to his office and got there as he was buzzing his ranked men into the room. I guess I got here just in time. He frowned when he saw me, and I am sure that they are about to have a meeting. I just need to go ahead and step in here and make my requests. That way all of his men know, and there will be no confusion. Blake doesn't say anything, and I know that means he is okay with me staying in here with them. I have done it 100 times over the years, and I needed a minute of his time. I watch as Garrett puts Blake's phone down on the desk and said, "I found it, it was in your truck, laying in the floorboard." Blake nodded in appreciation to him, and Garrett sat in the chair next to me. I guess Blake had lost his phone. I was not surprised at his leaving it sitting on the desk. I am drained as well and would love to be alone, in my home. Preferably hugging Cassandra's pillow to let her scent calm me down. I am instantly regretful of my callous disregard for Cassandra on the way there. I didn't want to be alone, so my first thought was who I could get to keep my company, as I was sure that Blake will not let Reagan come back. But I am still going to ask. After seeing her face, frozen in death, it is all I can see now. I can feel my eyes burn as the pain I am in makes me want to cry. I cannot remember the last time I wanted to cry. I honestly thought that Cassandra and I would be here at Black Moon until we died. As much money as I have sunk into this pack though, and our home being Cassandra's dream home, things were perfect here. She loved living here, so at least she was happy these last 15 years. "What can I do for you, Graham?" Blake asked me, and I can hear the exhaustion in his voice. I agree, this has been a horrible and draining day and it is barely half over. I put Cassandra in cold storage at the hospital, as I am sure you have already heard, Blake. I would like to have a small service for her and bury her on my property. I would also like it if you would allow Reagan to come back onto Black Moon land for her to pay her respects to her mother, I told him. Blake's eyes are shut, and I know that he is thinking right now. He didn't immediately shut me down, so that is a good sign. Maybe he realizes that his mate is the whole reason that we have to do this, so I don't have to cause any waves. Plus, I can keep the guilt trip to use later. Like me asking to move Reagan back to Black Moon. She doesn't cause problems anymore and has been a model pack member, for the last 15 years. Plus Clive would come with her, and he is a valuable member of Blood Tracker. Aaron might kick up a fuss about his pups coming here, but we are so close to him, that it should be fine. It would be perfect for me if Blake was willing to allow it. Reagan is banished, Graham. I am sure that you remember why Blake responds dryly to me, and I tried not to flush. We all do, and it was shameful that she even tried it. I was so disappointed in her doing it. I guess I might have to lay it on thick then. Blake, Reagan has been a model pack member ever since then. She learned her lesson, and I was hoping that you would allow me to let her move back to Black Moon to live out her days, I asked him, with pain in my voice. I need to make this work for me, and I was going to lay it on as thick as I needed to, just to get what I wanted. I just needed to get her here first, then all bets were off. I will be doing what I wanted to do, just like I usually do. Blake said nothing to me, so I decided to sweeten the pot a little. I would be willing to spend the same amount that I was going to spend building her home, as a donation to the pack. Do not forget that I gave you a great deal of money to not kill Reagan, from that terrible mistake that she made. I can guarantee you that she will never make such a mistake again, Blake. She is my only child and I would like her to be near me. It is just me and her now that her mother has been murdered by your mate, I told him in a mournful voice. I hated having to remind him that his mate murdered mine in cold blood. I actually wanted to save it for later, but this was a huge request, so I was going to have to use it now. I needed to be able to get my daughter back here with me. I was willing to use every single arrow in my quiver to do just that. I see Blake's eyes open back up and he looks at me, but I cannot read his face. Okay, how big of a home did you want for her? Blake asked, looking me directly in the eye. I cannot read his expression, but I have worked with Blake for the last 15 years. He trusts me, and he enjoys the perks of having me in his pack. Especially with his children now going shopping so often, as well as his girlfriends. He is always in need of funds. I see him glance at Mark, for him to pay attention to this information, as it depends on the trim and how many upgrades they will need to do it. I turned in my chair to look at Mark, and see him getting his phone out to text his men. Mark is in charge of all new builds on the pack land. The team they use are men who are both part of this pack and are the same ones who built my home for me and Cassandra. They also have a business in the city, and that is why they can create such nice houses. They can get deals in both the human and werewolf business world. I try to keep the excitement off my face, as I can see that Blake is entertaining the idea. Well, at least he hasn't shut it down yet. She will need 7 bedrooms, for her and the children. They can double up, but I would like them to have large rooms. I do not mind spending $500,000 to build it. We do not have to do high-grade fixtures, mid-grade is good. I know the home will have to be very large to accommodate them all. She will need about 5,000 sq ft in total. 2 of the rooms can be smaller, as the 2 oldest boys will be needing their own rooms. Will $500,000 be enough, Mark? I asked him as he continued to type into his phone. I know he was asking his men, but I thought my number would be close. The price of lumber has skyrocketed lately, but it should be pretty close. I know that we will have to get it drawn out and designed before we will have a real number for the project. I know that 3 of the bedrooms can go downstairs. She likes to keep the girls near her, and her youngest baby, Sarah Beth, is just 5, and won't need a huge room. We will need 3 bathrooms upstairs, and 2.5 downstairs. I continued to speak as I worked it all out in my head out loud for them. Mark nods at me and said, "Looks like what you want will be around $520,000 for all of it, so you were close. I am happy with this outcome, and I wish I had brought my laptop with me to transfer the money to Blake. I can come in the morning, to transfer the money to you, Blake. I do not have my laptop with me, frankly. I didn't think you would even consider it," I told him, and I saw that he was looking at his phone with a frown. "It is okay, you can use my computer to log in and do it," Blake said as he got up and moved to the far side of the room, still on his phone. I am not going to be rude, it is not a problem and we have all had a stressful day. I won't balk at them wanting their money before the work can start. They have never done me wrong before, and I have no reason to think that they would start now. Get some warriors and see if they can use the locator on Cheryl's phone to find her, I heard Blake say in a hard tone as Travis slipped out of the room. Today is looking up for me. If I could get Reagan, and my grandchildren back here at Black Moon here, and Cheryl can be found, then today will end on a far better note than it started. I logged in and then Mark stepped up next to me and said this is the total amount needed to be transferred. I looked at the screen and it showed $1,050,000, and I nodded. He had said about $520,000. Another $5,000 on both ends is usually right for unexpected problems to come up. They know that they can always come back to me if they need more anyway. I completed the transaction, and the next thing I know everything goes black. Chapter 109 Blake's POV. The nerve of Graham, he is going to cause all this, and then act like the freaking victim. He cannot be serious right now. I kept my eyes closed as I did not want him to know that I was mind-linking as he spoke. I am trying to breathe and stay calm right now, but I do not know if I am going to be successful at it. Kona is furious at the entitlement that Graham has towards me. He wants nothing more than to rip Graham apart right now, but I can't act rashly. Just seeing him here, lets me know that he does have an agenda. What it is anyone's guess right now, but he definitely wants something. I let him ramble on while I occasionally send a mind link to my men. I feel exhausted, and I know it is because I am mentally drained. I cannot deal with any more today. I might lose control, and someone will be getting hurt, I can guarantee that. His total gall at trying to blame my mate for something he pushed her to do, is simply amazing. He really did think I was an IT, and now that I know some of what happened, I kind of felt that I was too. I almost growled out loud at him for what he inferred. I checked my phone and found messages to me from Cheryl's phone. I got excited that she was talking to me and realized that they were all sent immediately after the incident. She just wanted to tell me a few things. Like the fact that she left me a note and it is under my pillow. I was wondering why she would mention it and then realized that she probably thought I was going to move one of my girlfriends in now that she was gone. That was incorrect, no one will be moving in with me. I will find it when I go upstairs. She told me that we didn't need to look for her and Kevin, because they would rather die than come back here to Black Moon. She reiterated that she has never lied to me at any time in our 15 years together, and had never cheated on me either. That she had always loved me, right up until I started sleeping around on her. I already knew it, but she mentioned that as far as she was concerned, that was the most unforgivable thing anyone could do. She also sent a recording that was over 4 minutes long but came with the message to not play it in front of Graham, until I had heard it in private first. I was trying to not cry as she went on and said that she really tried, but the safety of her child was paramount to her. She told me that she knew I would take care of the 3 that stayed here with me. I thought to her earlier today before she left and she was so hopeful to hug Casey. Casey just got her money, spoke to Kara in greeting, and then to her own mother. The disappointment that was etched on Cheryl's face had not been lost on me, and would probably haunt me for the rest of my life. I caused that by showing my kids that Cheryl and Kevin didn't matter. Everyone understood what I was putting out for them. I gave them money to make sure I had their loyalty and love. I was wrong for it. I pitted them against their own mother in my attempt to break her down, and what did it get me? She was right, our kids are now spoiled brats who will run this pack right into the ground. When Graham started talking about the house, I had to wait for Mark to stop typing out a text on his phone for me to mind link him. I will need you to knock Graham out after he transfers the money to our account. We will then need to change his passcode, but keep his username I told him in the link. Mark gave a slight nod to me and he was subtle as he walked up to Graham after he entered his information, acting like he was giving him privacy, to show him the total agreed upon for the project. I have surprising news for Graham when he wakes up, but being inside the cell should be a good tip-off that he has been found out. We all knew his username, and we had his cell, we could get it changed without his knowledge now. Garrett is quick to put silver cuffs on Graham, and I started the video. It started with a close-up of the time and date of a computer screen, and I can tell that it is Cheryl's laptop inside Luna's office. This was dated almost 4 years ago, and right about the time I had publicly announced that Kevin was not my son. I heard the door open about 10 seconds after she had set her phone face down on the desk. As soon as I heard Graham's voice, I didn't need the video proof, I knew that it was him, we all knew it. "Luna, what did you need me for?" Graham said, and he was rude when he spoke her title. "You know exactly why, Graham. I am done, you have won. Please stop what you are doing to Blake and Kevin right now," Cheryl said back to him, also in a rude tone. "What is it that you are speaking about?" "I can't for the life of me think of anything that I have done wrong," Graham replied back with a smirk in his voice. "You know how much Blake loves me. You are hurting him with these vicious and unfounded rumors. You are causing deliberate problems between him and me. You are hurting our child now too. I will not allow you to do this to my family. I know why you are doing it, and you need to stop. I will kick you out of the pack for it. You know as well as I do what the penalty for attacking the Alpha and Luna is. You are aiming for both of us, and I will protect my family." Graham, I heard the hard tone in her voice and she was not playing with him. "How can I do anything to the Alpha and Luna? Am I that powerful? What exactly did Blake accuse me of, Luna?" I can hear the teasing in tone in his voice. "You know Blake trusts you, for completely unknown reasons. It is not him accusing you of anything. I am. You know that I never got to leave this pack for the first 6 years. I was pregnant for the majority of that time, and Blake wanted to keep me safe. So I never left the pack. That leads me to the problem, Graham. If I never left the pack in 6 years, and no one trespassed onto our pack land, how could I be pregnant with another man's child?" I heard Cheryl's voice coming through loud and clear, with an undeniable fact. She was right. She never left, and we keep records of any incidents. After that wall went up, we didn't have any trespassers after that. Look, if you are accusing me of something, Cheryl, just spit it out. I do not have time to try to figure out what you are trying to imply here, Graham said to her, and he didn't try to hide his disrespect. Now he was blatantly speaking to her with contempt, and I would have killed him for doing it in front of me. His boldness and flippancy while speaking to his Luna were seriously pissing both me and Kona off. "Okay, I will. You are a liar, Graham. You are lying about me, and lying about my son. You know as well as I do that Kevin is indeed Blake's child," I heard Cheryl say directly to him. "What is your point? That is a statement, not a question," Graham said, and I can tell he is enjoying the little cat and mouse game. He is enjoying messing with Cheryl. He wants her to lose her temper, and she is getting there. "Okay, let me be more clear then. You, Graham Sullivan, are causing a rift in my family, for spite, because your piece of st daughter drugged and took advantage of my mate. He chose me, she was mad because he didn't choose her. She went after him, to cause problems between us, and try to take my spot as Luna. It didn't work, and due to her crime, Blake sentenced her to death. You didn't want her to die, as you can't come back from that, so you planned to get her out of whatever hot water she got put in. Just like you always do. You didn't plan on her becoming a breeder. Cheryl's voice stops speaking as I am sure she is grinning at him, as she was giving all his mocking that he had given her, right back to him. He didn't like it at all, but I was so proud of her for not backing down with his clear threat to her when he growled. So, Graham. I acknowledge that she had a really bad first day there, but that was not on Blake, or me. Neither of us knew that Garrett and Mark had pulled Michael aside and told him that she had drugged Blake, and whatever else they told him. I don't know what was said as neither Blake nor I were there when it happened. What happened to Reagan at Blood Tracker was bad. I won't deny that my heart breaks for what Michael and those women did to her. But that was never anything that we advocated or instructed anyone else to do to her. You are blaming it all on Blake and me, and are out to destroy my family, and I will not allow you to do it. I won't allow you to keep hurting my husband or son, Graham. You need to stop, or I will tell Blake. Cheryl spoke honestly to Graham. You and Blake hurt my child, and now, I will hurt yours. It is as simple as that. But don't worry, Cheryl. Once I get you and Blake over and done with, and your son out of the picture, I will make sure that Garrett and Mark get what is coming to them. Why start with the guppies when I have 2 sharks to hunt? Plus, it is already done. It seems like I heard your own mate tell everyone that you not only cheated on him, Luna, but bore a child out of your bond. He is hurt, and he wants you to pay, and believe me, you will pay. All I have to do is plant the seeds of doubt, and your mate willingly waters them for me. He was quick to completely believe the lies I told him about Kevin. If I had known it was this easy, I might have gotten Garrett and Mark back at the same time. But I don't want to overreach. I needed this to be done well. Seeing your pain and discomfort as the whole pack believes that you are a slut who cheated on your mate, makes me happy to watch. Graham tells her, and he is vicious in his words. You won't win. I won't allow it. You might make me suffer, but I refuse to break. I will not do it. Aren't you scared that I would tell Blake about this conversation? That he will lock you up, or throw you out of the pack, for your actions against us? Cheryl questioned him, and he laughed at her in response. Please, I am invaluable to him. I give him money, a lot of money, and he lets me do whatever I want to. He will never believe you over me anyway. I already told him what a liar you are. That he cannot believe or trust a cheater. He will never believe you, and I will never admit that I did this, because if my child has to suffer, yours does too. I couldn't do it to his heir, and your other 2 were too young, so poor Kevin had to be the one to carry this burden for his family. Plus he looks just like you, and nothing like Blake. He already believes me completely. There is nothing that you can do to stop this. I have been working on this for years, and you are just now hearing about it. You, my dear Luna, are going to suffer so much, and that makes me happy. He does whatever I want. If you think that it hurt you when he slept with Reagan, just imagine when I get 2 or 3 girlfriends for him. You already know that he is a very attractive alpha. I cannot wait to see what happens when he does just that, and you get to receive the pain that my daughter has had to live with for over 10 years now. I will not stop until I have broken both you and Blake. Poor Kevin is just collateral damage. I do hate that, as he is a child, but the plan is a good one, and you know that I don't like to deviate from my plans, Graham tells her, and I feel sick. He did this to us, knowing it was all a lie, just to get us back for what happened to Reagan at Aaron's pack. That was not on me and Cheryl. Garrett and Mark had started that ball rolling, and everything that happened to Reagan at Blood Tracker was on Michael, Tabitha, and Jennifer. I know what happened there after the fact, and I had been sick to hear about it too. But we had absolutely nothing to do with it. I looked at Garrett and Mark, and the guilt all over their faces tells me that they had indeed done something wrong. I will have to talk to them about it later, as I didn't want to miss the rest of the audio file. I had heard that Reagan has been an exemplary pack member ever since, but I can't take the chance on her living here. For the last time, Graham, I am telling you to let Blake and Kevin go, or I swear to the goddess herself that I will make you sorry you ever tried to hurt my family. I heard Cheryl's threat, and after remembering her handiwork from earlier today, I shudder at her words. She was telling the truth. She would have done anything to protect us, and I wasn't even willing to listen to her side of the story for anything. She tried to protect her mate and pup, being an excellent mate. I was right on board with Graham, willing to listen to the very worst things said about my mate, and accepting them as truth. My mate did not deserve anything I did to her, and yet I felt like I was the one wronged. I feel even worse now than I did. My actions cost me my mate and pup. I cannot blame this on anyone else. It is my fault entirely, and I am wondering just how much damage I did to my sweet mate. Do your worst, Cheryl, because I promise you that I will too. I want to watch your joy slowly leave you. Take your excitement at seeing your mate away, as he continues to emotionally abuse you. Make you angry at your own mate for calling you AWE for cheating and exposing you to the pack to the point that you can't go anywhere without whispers. I will make sure that you have to worry about your son to the point that you have to physically stay with him to keep him safe. And when you finally get to where you have no joy in you at all, I am going to encourage your mate to cheat on you. I will tell him that he needs to make you feel just as bad as he does at your betrayal. That he has to break you to build you back up. Only then, after he is past the point of no return, will I make sure that Kevin is seriously hurt. I will make sure that it is your oldest child, Forrest, that does it. He will take your baby's life, and there is nothing that you can do to stop it. I have been grooming Forrest to do this. Kevin makes it so easy for me too. Kevin just wants a scrap of kindness from his father. It is killing him for Blake to praise Forrest, but never him. Kevin works so hard to get Blake's approval, it is almost a shame that I have to do it this way. Just know this, Cheryl. By the time Blake cheats on you, the end is near. I know the guilt you will feel at letting your son die, and not having done anything to prevent it. I just can't see how you will be able to bear the guilt, Graham said, and we all heard the door open, and then close. I heard my mate sigh, and then a sob escapes before she can stop the recording. She knew, and still was aware that I probably would never believe her, no matter what she did, or said. She had no one here to help her, and yet she still tried to stop Graham on her own. She knew about his detailed plans. She made a few of her own, and I bet he was sorry now. She knew that when I started cheating on her that she had limited time left. He knew that cheating was going to be impossible for me to come back from. He went out of his way to destroy me, Cheryl, and Kevin. I cannot believe the strain that she was under. She was an innocent woman whose only crime had been to love me and try to protect me and her pup from a monster. I look up at the ceiling as I feel tears burning my eyes. I never knew the extent of all that she had been put through. I feel like the worst person who has ever lived. No one was speaking now. They all heard it, and they all knew that I did exactly what Graham had told me to do. I listened to him like he could solve all my problems when he was the one to create the very problems that I faced. I wished she would have brought me the recording, but I also knew that at the time, I would have probably destroyed it in a fit of temper if she had come to me with it. I refused to listen to her at all. I was completely shameless in what I did, and I am disgusted that for an intelligent man, I did exactly what he said. He planned this out so many years ago and started implementing it. 7 years ago. He didn't come at me strong, it was all whispers and innuendo. And I shouldn't be telling you this, but conversation and letting my jealousy take off and do all the heavy lifting for him. I know my ranked wolves feel bad too. They all 100% supported me and my side of it, through all of it. When I started cheating on her, they felt she deserved it too, and started giving respect to my girlfriends, who didn't deserve it. She saw it just this morning. I guess I deserved to feel this heartache. I was the monster she had to escape from. I am horrified to know what Graham's endgame was. He knew the guilt and trauma of what was going to happen to Kevin would have killed her. I have to sink down into a chair just thinking about it. I knew what his plan was, her grief at our eldest killing his own brother, and her not being able to defend him. It really would have killed her. She would not have wanted to go on anymore. As supportive as I am of Forrest, he would never have been truly punished for it. He would have gotten away with it, and it would eat her alive until the day she died. His plan was perfect, but mine was too. I was never going to let Reagan come here. I was never going to allow Graham to build a house for her. She will never come back to Black Moon, and if she does, she will end up dead, just like her mother. I am glad she has Clive to take care of her because her father is going to be locked up for the rest of his life in my cells. You see, I played him this time. I knew what he wanted and pretended to play along. I got him to log in on my computer, and we have now changed his password. I now have control of his account. I can spend all his money now, and I never have to go to him to get permission to do it. He is so smart, yet he didn't see that coming, just like I didn't see the long game that he has been playing with me. I cannot wait for him to wake up and see what his new life is going to be like. Whatever I can do to cause him the same pain and anguish, as he caused me and Cheryl, is what I am going to do. I will also use the money to try to find Cheryl and Kevin and beg them to come back home. I have 2 warriors come and pick Graham's body off the floor. I also told the warriors that they needed to make sure that they relayed to the rest of the cell guards, that Graham is no longer rich. He can't pay them to sneak him out of the pack. They needed to know this and pass it on along with the information that I will use all of Graham's money to hunt down and kill anyone who was willing to help him. Graham was going to be staying with me for the rest of his life, however long that was going to be. Chapter 110 Brandon's POV. We waved Cherry's truck through my gate, and it was immediately shut and locked back behind her. We could see several trucks in the distance coming our way, and she was right, they were traveling at a high rate of speed. Cheryl was right to be scared. My men are armed, but we do not show our hand until we need to. With this type of situation, it is best to try to de-escalate it, instead of starting with threats. As they pulled up to the gate, we all calmed down because it was Cole arriving from Bloodwalker. Raven had texted him when we got the call from Cheryl, and he hauled *S to get here, clearly. I see that he has council member Emerson with him, and I was glad that he was here too. I started walking toward Cheryl's truck, and when I got closer I could hear her son frantically calling out to his mother. I hurried my steps, as I don't need her to die on us. She had really looked bad when she got here. She was obviously under a great deal of stress, and I was not going to add to it. She was passed out at the wheel, and unresponsive. Her son was clearly very upset, with worry etched all over his face. He looked just like her with his hair and eye color, but he was already bulky even at his young age. He clearly trained well, and he looked like he was going to be a powerhouse by the time he was 18. His clothes did not fit him well, and I wonder what happened to them to get them to this state. They have been gone for 15 years, and I wonder if she suffered the whole time, or just recently this was a nice SUV, so the pack she came from had funds, yet they both were not dressed very well. Maybe they were servants and had to steal the vehicle to get away. We will have to take care of her first. I called back to Leander, who was approaching. I stepped back so he could pick her up from the driver's seat, and put her in the back seat to secure her. He ran around the SUV and got in behind her son, and I drive us all to the PAC hospital. Justin had run to Cole's waiting SUV to tell them what had happened, and they followed us there. I mind-linked Raven for her to meet us there and asked her to bring our 4 oldest with her. She told me that they would meet us there, and broke the link. I knew she was already going to link them to come with her. I can see the young man turned in his seat watching his mom with anxiety, and my heart breaks for him. From the looks of it, it is only him and her in this life, and he will be crushed if something happened to her. We have excellent doctors here, some of the best. I will not let her die here now that she has returned. I went ahead and lifted her banishment from Blackadder. Her actions, although frustrating, were forgivable in my opinion. I knew the day I banished her and her family that she was just doing what her father had told her to do. He conned her into it and took advantage of her crush on me to get her to comply. The worst part was that he had set her up to take the fall using her password information, to try to dodge any punishment on his part. He was the problem. Cheryl was just expendable to him. Silas always had a better opinion of Leander than he did Cheryl. I no longer felt that she was a threat to me or the PAC at all. I was going to be talking with Raven about letting her off of the wanted list and allowing her to come back. I wanted Raven's opinion first before speaking to Cole and council member Emerson. I pulled right up to the front of the hospital, where the doctor I had mind-linked for an emergency was waiting with several nurses and a gurney to get her to an emergency room for treatment. Leander had immediately gotten out and came around to get her. I opened the door for him to be able to get her out, and she looks like she has wasted away. Her son is standing there next to the gurney as Leander gently lays her on it, and her son starts off with the medical team to go with her. I hated stopping him, but he cannot go back there, he will just be slowing them down. My hand on his shoulder stops his forward motion and he shrugged my hand off and started off again. This time both Leander and I stopped him. Son, I know that you want to go with her, but you can't. You will only be in the way. Our medical team is one of the best in the area, she will be okay. Let them see what she needs them to do to help her, and as soon as they allow us back, I will have a second bed brought in so you can stay in the room with her, I told him. I could see them thinking about what I had told him, and his piercing stare as he looked like he was checking the validity of my words. He grudgingly nodded his acceptance of my words. This young man is very cautious, and I can see the black eye he is sporting was new, as it was healing quickly, and we didn't carry bruises for long. He had to have been hit this morning, and I wonder if that was the reason for their leaving the PAC they had been living in. He is going to be my height, and I knew he would be about the same size as my Jax, or the twins, who were basically the same size as Jax. I could hear them before I saw them, and they were hugging Justin and Cole before heading over to us. I can immediately see the interest in my son's eyes at the young man standing next to me. He didn't say anything to them though, he just stood there next to me quietly. I know that whatever they had gone through, it was bad. Teenage boys are loud and rambunctious, but not this one. This one was on guard to be attacked, and watching my sons very carefully. I was going to start introducing them as they walked up with Raven, Justin, Cole, and council member Emerson, but Jax beat me to it. Hi, my name is Jackson, but you can call me Jax. These are my younger brothers Liam and Chase, they are twins, and our younger brother Dexter. We call him Dex, but he hates it now, so he wants to be called by his middle name Conrad now, Jax told him, and at the end, he concluded with an eye roll over how silly he thought Dex's request was. That got a little snort of laughter from the young man. Jax put his hand out to shake the young man's hand, and I was proud of my son for helping to take some of the stress off this situation. Kevin, the young man said, and reached out to shake Jax's hand. He shook hands with all four of my sons, and they did what they do best, teased and messed with each other. They were willing to wait here with Kevin, but the doctor came back out to speak to us about an hour later. Alpha, this she-wolf has been through a lot. She is completely dehydrated, which is probably why she passed out. She is severely malnourished and dangerously thin. I haven't seen this kind of abuse, really ever, in one of our kind. If her wolf weren't so strong, I am confident she would have died by now. She needs rest, she needs to not be given any stress. She needs time to heal, and at this point, I am thinking at least 3 weeks. I will have to wait for her to wake up and get better before we can run tests to see if she will have to suffer from any long-term issues from what she has had to live with. I will not sugarcoat it, I am concerned for her heart. I can tell that she has been in this state for an extended period of time. I am hoping that with her being in a better environment, and working with her, we can get her back to where she needs to be. As small as her stomach is, we will have to work hard to just get her to eat again. We are feeding her intravenously now, and I am hoping that after a week, we can remove the tube, and see if she can eat some soft foods to start with, the doctor told us. I thanked him for his help and asked that she be taken to the VIP area for her treatment. I was going to keep my promise to Kevin, and she needed a bigger room for another bed to be brought back in for him to stay with her. Kevin is clearly upset, especially after he heard that she could have died by now. With the tube down her throat, we won't be questioning her now. I don't know what to do, and I looked over at Raven. She is upset at what she heard too, and Cole is clearly upset as well. This was serious, and she isn't out of the woods yet. It may take a long time to get her to where she is healthy again, but we will get her there. Justin speaks up. Kevin, are you hungry? How about you come and get something to eat with us? They will need a little bit of time to get you set up in your mom's room, and they will have to move her from where she is anyway. We have at least another hour before the room will be set up. Would you like to eat with us? Kevin waited about a minute before he nodded in agreement, and I had one of the warriors pull her SUV to the parking garage on the side of the pack house. I do not know who is after them, or if they will show up here to look for her. I do not want any obvious signs that they are here. At Kevin's confused look, I explained that to him, and he nodded again. He saw the logic in it, and I can't stop myself from asking him, Kevin, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you? It is impossible for him to be over 15, they have only been gone for about 2 months, over 15 years. I will be 14 and a half in less than a month, Kevin told me in a serious tone. This poor kid had even less of an opportunity to be a kid, than my own children. My heart is breaking for him, as I know that it could go either way for Cheryl. I hate that he is under this kind of stress at such a young age. I sent up a quick prayer to the goddess to not take his mother away from him. He is scared and trying to pass it off as being standoffish, but I can smell the fear coming off of him. I wanted to know why he was so scared. Is he worried his dad is after him? Did he get abused at his old pack? What has happened to his mother? So many questions, and I don't know if I should even ask. Kevin stayed between me and Leander as we walked to the pack house. We are early for dinner, but I knew that food was already ready for us. I asked them to go ahead and start putting some of what they had ready to go out. They were already on it when we entered the dining room. I see Kevin's interest in how the dining room is set up, and thankfully Jax and the boys step up to go take him around to see what all we had. I was glad because I wanted to speak to Raven and the group now. Raven, I lifted the banishment on Cheryl when they got here. It has been 15 years, and she was acting on what her father told her to do. He set her up, and used her crush on me, to try to take over the pack. She was used, and I was going to see if it was okay with you if she and Kevin stayed here. I want to drop the charges against her, but only if you are okay with me doing that. If not, I will find her somewhere else to go, I said to the group as I watched the boys move from area to area as they showed Kevin around. I am fine with that. I can tell that she has been tormented, and for goddess knows how long. I cannot imagine how hard her life has been since they went on the run. She can stay here with her son. I can tell that she risked her life to get him to safety, and I am glad that our boys already like him. They are being gentle with him too, surprisingly enough, so I know they like him, Raven said with a slight laugh at how much the boys already liked Kevin. Yes, I have noticed that too, and I thought it was odd, as my boys, although friendly to all, do not connect so quickly to others. They are cautious, and watchful before they make their decisions, and it was almost instant when they met Kevin. I think that is the goddess giving them a nod to their friendship. I am fine, she was just wanted for what she did trying to drug you, but Reagan was the one who bought the drugs, and delivered the drink to you. We have always been more interested in getting Graham and Reagan, than any of the others. We were going to interview them, but for Billy, Cheryl, and Cassandra it was just going to be a slap on the wrist. The real charges are against Graham and Reagan. Silas was just going to have to pay the fine of 20% of the loss to your pack. Their judgments had all been determined when they all of a sudden disappeared. We just put them on the bolo because we figured that they were all holed up together somewhere, and were trying to force their hand, council member Emerson said. Cole, I would like your opinion too on this. I do not want to step on your toes at all. I value your opinion, and if you want some form of punishment to be carried out, I will defer to you, I said to him. I saw her where she got here, and I agree with the doctor. I am surprised that she is alive myself. I am sure that she has probably had a very hard life, and she was the lesser of my concerns. It is Reagan, and Graham, that I was after. Not any of the others. I didn't even know Silas and his family. My only issue with Cheryl was her attacking Raven at her coming out party and trying to drug you. Raven had already punished her at the party, and we avoided the other incident. I am good with what you have all agreed on. I would like to be there when she is interviewed though, Cole said to us. I breathed a sigh of relief. I didn't want any upset with her staying here, but if Raven had been upset by it, I would have allowed her to go to Cole's pack to live with her son. But Blackadder was where Cheryl grew up. This was her home for the majority of her life. I don't think that she has anywhere else to go. It may be a while before we can question her, Cole. She has a tube down her throat, I told him, and he lifted his phone up and shook it. Yes, that is smart. We can use texting to question her. That will totally work. We need to find out just how serious this situation is that she is in. I need to know if men are on their way here, as I want to protect not just her and her son, but my entire pack. I will not allow them to be put at risk. We need to know, and we need to know soon, the threat level that we are at. I don't want to stress Cheryl out. I heard the doctor's warning, but I am sorry, this has to be done. We watch the boys heading back towards us to sit at the table. That reminds me of something, and I looked down at Raven, who was sitting between me and Justin. Before I could open my mouth to say anything, Raven said, I will take care of it. He is roughly the same size as Jax. We will go up to our room first, and get him more clothes so he has something to wear until I can take him into the city to get him taken care of. I gave her a hug. I should have known that she was already on it. She is a mom and saw the problem right off the bat. The fact that she bore no grudge against Cheryl lets me know how good a person she is. Raven is very secure in her knowledge of how much I love and care for her. I know that she feels the same for Justin as well. The boys all started eating, and Kevin was hungry. He was also watchful, like he still expected something to happen even at the dinner table. The fact that such a young man has to keep his guard up all the time lets me know that it wasn't just Cheryl living with stress. Kevin was too, and a great deal of it from what I can see. I wonder what could have happened to them both for them to get to this point. It makes me very concerned about an imminent attack on Blackadder, and I mind-linked Justin to what his thoughts were on it. He was thinking the same thing and had replied, "I already increased the patrols to double up. I also doubled up on the gate guards as well, and I told them to put the additional gate in place. No one was getting in here unless they scale a wall. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. I have no idea if someone is coming here or not, but better to be safe and ready, than wait for them to get here and set it up." I linked him back. "You were busy and it is my job to help keep the pack safe as well. I have got your back. We will get this sorted out today." Justin linked me again. I have to say he is right. He always helps keep the pack safe, and I don't have to ask him to do it. He is invaluable to me, and honestly, we work in sync with each other all the time. The secondary gate was something that Justin had come up with several years ago. We had been conducting training sessions here and had a few incidents from it, so we stopped the training. No strangers were allowed to come here anymore. Justin felt that although our gate was strong, it could be rammed, and then wolves could slip in through the gap in the gate, so we added extra security measures. We have 2 solid gates that can be slid into place, one on either side of the wall, just inside our normal gate. We also have retractable barriers that were installed as well. A total of 4 of them had been buried in the ground and were 6 inches behind the solid gate. These could be used to pop up in place to make sure the solid gate was not crashed through. Even if they did, it would not move far due to the retractable barriers. There were 2 50-foot solid beams that can be put into brackets, one 2 feet up from the bottom of the solid gate and one 2 feet down from the top of the solid gate. This made our entrance almost totally impenetrable from even the largest SUVs. They would literally have to have a tank to be able to get through it. I thought it was brilliant and had one crew build the sliding gate doors, and made sure that we paid the extra expense to make it bulletproof. If we ever needed to use it, it meant that the chance of us being under attack was here. It was a heavy and massive gate, and well worth the money we paid to get it installed. Justin has had several great ideas, and the pack is much more secure with the plans we have implemented and put in place. If someone wants to get in here, we are not going to make it easy on them. Chapter 111 Cheryl's POV. I woke up alone and scared. I cannot see Kevin, and there is a tube in my throat. I pressed the button for a nurse, and one came quickly to me. She could see the panic in my eyes and spoke to me in a calm tone. "You are going to be fine. Your son will be back soon, and we just moved this bed in here for him to be able to stay with you here." I glanced over to where she motioned and was glad to see that she was telling the truth. If he wasn't coming back, they would not have put it in here with me. This room is huge, and I glanced around it again, this time with less panic. "I will go get the doctor for you now, just stay calm, and he will explain everything to you, okay?" she said, and I nodded at her, and appreciated how kind she was to me. I guess I have gotten accustomed to being treated badly for the last several years. I feel tears fill my eyes and I blink rapidly to try to fight them off. I appreciate that I am not in the cells here at Blackadder. I was half expecting to be in them when I woke up actually. I do not know how this is going to work out here. But if Kevin is okay, and can live here in peace and be taken care of, I can deal with whatever they hand out to me. I heard the door open again and a handsome man walked in. He had a white coat on, so I am assuming that this is my doctor. I know that he already knows my condition is bad, but he was kind when he spoke to me as well. I guess they don't know that I was banished from here over 15 years ago. I am sure that when they are told about it the guise of friendliness will be gone then. Cheryl, your condition is very serious, and the tube is to make sure you get the nutrients you need. You are lucky to be alive. I can assure you that it is only because of your wolf strength and your beta blood. You are seriously malnourished and dehydrated. If you had gotten here 2 days later, I believe that your organs would have started to shut down because of it. We will get you back to health, but I want you to cooperate with us to do that. Your son is getting dinner with Alpha Brandon and his family. I just notified them that you were awake and they are heading back here now. I want you to stay calm, and not get stressed. I can assure you that you are safe now. They have already put us in lockdown mode and no one will come here to harm you. Your son was very worried about you. He wants to stay here with you in your room, and Alpha Brandon set that up for you too. So just relax, and try to stay calm. You have been overstressed for way too long, and it can cause long-term ill effects for you, my doctor told me. I felt the tears sliding down my face from the corners of my eyes. I am stunned that Brandon and Raven are willing to take care of my son like this. It takes a lot of worry off of me to know that if I do have to be imprisoned by the council, Kevin will be kept safe. That is all I wanted. That is what I needed to hear, and I am very grateful that he put my mind at ease by telling me that. I guess he could see the worry I had and wanted to make sure I was not stressed out. Are you okay, Cheryl? He asked with concern all over his face. I nodded to him and gave him a thumbs up. This was all I could have hoped for, and I can take anything after hearing it. He nodded back and smiled at me and said, "Okay, I will be back later to check on you. Stay calm. Everything will be all right, I can already feel it." He then gave me another smile before exiting the room. I was calm now, my main goal had been done. Whatever happens next, I can live with it. I just needed to protect my son and keep him from being killed. Graham didn't beat me, I ended up beating him, at his own game. Did he cost me everything? Yes he did. I still cannot believe Blake and what he has done to me. I stared at the ceiling and tried to stay calm. I did, but I miss my mate. I loved Blake with my whole heart. I could have dealt with, and had dealt with way too much for one person to handle. What Blake and Graham didn't know was that they had already broken me. I just never let it show. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of knowing that they had broken me completely apart. I was not a bad person. I was not a killer, and yet I had to do just that for me to be able to be free of my tormentors. The guilt I had for that young warrior, who just lucked out on going with us, and over Cassandra was the last straw. I was alone now, and I could let it all out. We were safe and I didn't have to be strong anymore. My sobs rang out in the room as I cried, even with the pain of the tube rubbing and causing me pain. My anguish at what I had been forced to do to save my baby boy, was pressing on me hard. I couldn't stop or control them as they needed out. I was so overwhelmed as I realized that I was going to have to tell them what I did. I am sure that Raven will never be able to allow me to stay here after I killed her mother. No matter what the reasoning behind it was. It was us or them, and I knew that Graham was going to be at his endgame soon. We had to get out of there, my choice in the matter taken away. Graham had a solid plan, and it was set in stone. Kevin was going to be killed, and Graham was right. I couldn't have lived with myself if I had stayed there and allowed it to happen. I had never shown Kevin any favoritism until Graham got Blake to deny him, in front of the pack. I loved and doted on all of my children. I will miss them so much, but what they have become lately is not good. Blake had been spoiling them with money for years, and would not listen to me when I demanded that he stop. Reagan's entitled face would always appear before me as the cautionary reason why it shouldn't be allowed to occur. Graham created that monster and was doing it to my other pups. It caused a gap between us as they felt that I was trying to punish them by taking away their opportunity for them to get what they wanted. It made them angry and frustrated with me for asking Blake to stop spoiling them. It also made them rub it into Kevin as they showed him what all they had gotten, and then pretended to be sad, as he didn't get anything. My whole family has been changed, and not for the better. I had to pick my battles in this. Kevin's life was what I had to choose. The punishment for their greed and gluttony would show up and Blake would see how they ended up. Not like how we raised them, but as selfish teenagers, and young adults who always wanted more, and were never happy with what they had. My sobs continued to ring out in the room as I feel that I am finally safe enough to stop pushing my emotions down and finally be able to express them. I cried for Kevin, for my other 3 pups, for Blake, and finally for myself. I had lost the love of my life because he clearly never trusted me. He never listened to my side of anything and downplayed the pain I felt at his cheating. I know he thought that he was trying to keep us together. But he knew exactly where my bottom line was. For him to voluntarily cross it to break me, that was more than my heart could take. I believe that was more than any heart could take. I remember him doing that very thing to me while I was in the dining room for lunch. The now familiar pain caused me to almost fall to the ground. I heard someone sit down in the chair across from mine, and when I looked up, I saw Cassandra was sitting there. I tried to smile through my tears, but she held her hand up to me, palm toward me, and said, "No need to speak. I know what is happening to you right now. I also know that Graham has caused this. He has done a lot of wrong in his life. He felt like it was appropriate for him to get vengeance for Reagan. He fails to remember that she earned her punishment. Graham used to do the same thing to me, back at Silver Blade. Once he started cheating, I refused to sleep with him again, too. He loves me, but he also covets being with other women. He hurt me for so many years, so I know what you are experiencing, Cheryl. I didn't sleep with him for a long time. But he has proven himself to me. He has not slept with anyone here for the 10 years that we have been here. I finally allowed him to have S*X with me again. I hadn't slept with anyone for over 22 years while I waited for him to get his head out of his A*S. I am so sorry for what you are going through. I am just mentioning it to you for you to know that one day you too might be able to get past it. To forgive Blake too, if he puts in the work and goes back to the man you fell in love with. Being chosen mates doesn't make it easier, it makes it a great deal harder. We don't have the pull, the sparks, the goosebumps that you get when your true mate, your true love, touches you. I wish I had not been a foolish young girl back when I met mine. I was spoiled, and I wanted things, stuff. I allowed Graham to take me away from my true mate for the promise of being spoiled. Graham is not even half the man Cole is. I was wrong in the choices that I made. Graham has ruined so many lives. He has hurt so many, but the biggest regrets that I have stemmed from picking Graham to be a chosen mate. Losing Cole as my mate, and not speaking up to protect Raven. I will never recover from those bad decisions. I would apologize to them both if I could. But nothing I could say would take the pain I caused them away. I see you, Cheryl, I know how you are doing everything you can to protect Kevin. Soon you will have to make a hard choice. I support you in whatever path you decide to take to make things right again." Cassandra gave me a soft smile, and then a pat on the hand to show her support. She walked away from my table with her head high, looking like a regal queen. You would have never known what hardships she has faced, just by looking at her. She has never come to me like this before, she has never spoken to me like this. It was kind of unusual from start to finish. I was too stunned to speak. I never expected her to sit down and say what she said to me. It was a great distraction from my pain, which stayed in the background as she spoke to me. I had just remembered hearing my dad mention to Mom about Graham's girlfriends helping us escape as we were running from Silver Blade. I just never realized he had betrayed Cassandra so many times. I hated that she had to go through all of that. I heard the pain in her voice as she told me her greatest mistakes. As I lay here in the bed and go over it in my head, it hit me that she knew. Why would she bring all of this up after almost 15 years at Black Moon? It is almost like the goddess herself had let her know what was going to happen. The tears come back harder as I remember me apologizing to her before I killed her, and she never say a word to me. She could have used that same time to beg me, argue with me, plead for her life, but it was like she knew that this was going to happen. She knew her fate, and she allowed it to happen, even though she knew it was going to end in her death for us to be free. She knew that the end result was the only thing that would cause Graham the pain that he deserved to feel. Graham only loved a few things: Cassandra, Reagan, his fancy things, and his money. Not necessarily in that order. My guilt takes a huge spike, as I realized that she knew it was coming, and still begged me to come on the trip. To allow me and Kevin to be able to break free from Graham and Blake. She gave me her tacit approval to do it. "Goddess, please forgive me for what I did to Cassandra," I begged the goddess. I begged for forgiveness for my actions. It seemed like her coming to me to be so brutally honest about her life with Graham, was almost like she knew I was going to end up here. For me to relay how deeply sorry she was to Raven. I thought I was all cried out, but clearly, I am not. I cannot stop the realization that there was no way that the goddess didn't show her what was about to happen. At that time I was the only one who knew we were about to escape from Black Moon. I hadn't even told Kevin yet. It had to have been the goddess to do it. But who would believe such a crazy story? Should I even tell Raven? Would she hate me forever for killing her mother? I do not feel comfortable admitting to killing two innocent people all to get my son out of a certain death situation. But it is hard to argue that the goddess did that for me. She got us just to safety before I passed out. I could have killed us both if I had been driving when I passed out. The goddess's hand has been on us this whole time. The door flies open and my son enters the room. He looks so much better. The strain around his eyes is almost gone. He is smiling and happy, and he is dressed nicely. How long was I out? He hugs me tight and tells me how happy he is that I am awake now. I hugged him back, and tears keep pouring down my face. I am so happy to see him, and I realized that he is exactly where he needs to be. I am smiling at him and trying to stop the tears that continue to fall, when I see Raven at the door, with Brandon and Justin right behind her. She smiled at me, and it was a true smile, not a fake one. I know she knows how truly worried I was about my son when I woke up and he was not here. I smiled back and said, "Thank you," as I knew she was the one to help take care of him. She nodded and said, "Of course, you are our pack members, and we will always take care of you. As soon as I can I will take you and him into town and we can get him more clothes." It is then that I see a duffel bag with him. He has more than just this outfit on, and I see 4 teenagers in the hallway looking in at me. All 4 of them are big, and strong, like my son, but were respectful of me, by staying in the hallway. Kevin places the duffel bag under his bed and took a blanket that he had on top of the duffel bag, and laid it across the bottom part of the bed. I can see excitement shining in his eyes as he turns to me and said, "Mom, this place is great. Is it okay if I go run their obstacle course with the guys? You have got to see it, they have one for kids and adults. They said I could run both of them if I wanted to." It had been years since I have seen him so excited about anything. Leander stepped into the doorway and put my backpack, new phone, and my SUV keys on my legs. "They put the SUV in the parking garage as we didn't know who was after you and we didn't want anyone to see it. I do not know if you are aware, or not, but we are on lockdown. Justin upped the gate guards as well as the patrols, and our secondary gate is in place. No one will be able to get onto our property. I will take the boys with me down to run the course, so you can talk. You are safe now. Do not cry, we will protect you," Leander told me, and my tears still fell. "Is it okay, Mom?" Kevin asked me, and I squeezed his hand and nodded at him. He bounced out of the room and I could hear the boys running down the hall to go to do whatever it was he was so excited about. My little smile, which could not be a full one because of the tube, decreases as I now see Cole, and a member of the council, enter the room. I am now suddenly terrified of what is about to happen. But I always knew this day was going to come. I was a wanted person and had been for a long time. I just killed 2 innocent people, so it is time to do what I said. This was the deal that I made to allow Kevin to have a good life. I was willing to do exactly what I told them. I will tell them everything, as long as they make sure that Kevin is protected from Blake, Forrest, and Graham. I made the deal, and I will honor it. They even went the extra mile of setting up a lockdown at their pack to keep us safe. Whatever happens to me, it will be completely worth it for my son to be able to be safe again. Chapter 112 Cheryl's POV. My heart is pounding and I can tell from the equipment that I am hooked up to, that my heart rate is high. I heard Raven's calm voice say, "It is okay, Cheryl. You are not in trouble. The council is not here to punish you, we just need to talk. I put my number into your phone. Along with Brandon's, and Justin's cell numbers too. You have been under too much stress, and you have got to calm down. Nothing is going to happen to you, you are safe here. You were only wanted for questioning, not to be put to death." They were always just after Graham, and Reagan. They were the ones who were going to be in trouble. My heart rate dropped some and I grabbed my phone to text Raven, "Thank you for telling me that. But I had to do something today to get free of my pack. I will have to be punished for that. But I had to get Kevin to freedom. Thank you for taking care of him." They were in kind of a V formation behind Raven so they could all read the texts at the same time. Raven nodded at me and said, "We will ask questions, and you can text your answers, okay?" I nodded and Cole immediately asked me, "Do you know where Graham and Reagan are?" "Yes, I was Luna for Black Moon Pack, Graham, Cassandra, and my parents were all there," I texted them back. "But not Reagan?" Cole asked with a frown. I shook my head no, and texted back, "She drugged my mate to do him like she did Justin. Blake was furious and wanted to kill her, but instead sold her to his cousin at Blood Tracker, as a breeder. Graham didn't want her to die, so he begged for her life to be spared." I blushed a little at it, as that was the worst thing that we had thought of doing to her, and it was a very bad punishment. Plus that was going to bring back some bad memories for Justin too. Just as expected, their reaction was complete shock at hearing about Reagan's punishment. Those were 2 of the 5 packs we were watching, Cole the council member stated, and it was my turn to be shocked. I had no idea that they even suspected where we were. We all thought that we were completely off their radar. Sounds like she didn't learn her lesson after all, and was taught a hard one from it, Justin said in an angry tone. I am sure remembering what she had done to him was a very bad memory. I nodded at him, and he suddenly smiled and said, "Did you and Blake come up with it?" I nodded and sent the text. Blake wanted to kill her for it, but Graham paid him $250,000 not to kill her. So she lived, but some of our men, who didn't like her, kind of set her up. So between jealous she-wolves and a Delta with an agenda, Reagan got hurt. She was pretty badly hurt, actually. I felt very bad for her, as I didn't know any of that was going to happen to her when she went there. She has a chosen mate there now, Clive. She is a warrior and learned to fight after her incident. She has had 12 children now. 4 for Alpha Aaron, 3 for his beta whose chosen mate could not bear pups, and the rest for Clive, her chosen mate, who have a total of 5 pups. She is happy right now, Clive loves her. It was a long text, but no one spoke while they waited for me to respond. I saw Raven's surprised look, as she probably couldn't believe that Reagan was a mother, especially to so many pups. I felt I needed to send another as they were still reading the last text I sent. She is a surprisingly good mother. As I said, she has changed. I guess her almost being killed by 2 crazy she-wolves can do that to you. I see an even bigger response from that text. I cannot hold my tongue anymore. I have to admit to what I did, and I started texting again. I have a confession to make. In order to be able to escape, I killed 3 Black Moon Pack members earlier today. I hit send and held my breath. I can see the shock that was all over their faces. Brandon was the first to speak. I believe that you are under too much stress. We can talk later, Cheryl. You need to stay calm. That doctor was very clear on this fact. It was almost like he was trying to give me an out. But I cannot take it. I needed them to know, and I need to apologize to Raven. She has been so sweet to my boy, and I knew that they will be taking good care of him. He had a shower, new clothes, a meal, and a haircut, all in I am guessing a short amount of time. I will start there. How long was I out? I asked. About 3.5 hours, Raven told me. That was a little bit of time, so it is still the same day. I am very sorry, Raven. I had to do it, and I believe that the goddess had let her know that she was to play a part in it. If there was any other way, I would not have done it. I texted her, and I see another frown. I was evasive, but I needed them to know that I was really sorry for what I had to do. I was not allowed to leave the pack. Blake was terrified I would escape, and Graham had spent the last several years working to get my relationship to break. He wanted to hurt Blake and me for Reagan being made a breeder, and for the attack on her at Blood Tracker. He blamed Blake and me, for both incidents. He told me since I hurt his child he was going to hurt mine. I texted them. Kevin? Brandon asked and I nodded. Is he your only child? Brandon asked me and I shook my head no. Graham got Blake to think that I had cheated on him, with Brandon. He got Blake all worked up in anger and jealousy and got him to tell the whole pack that Kevin was not his. He spent years emotionally abusing me, trying to get me to admit that I had cheated on him. I have 4 pups. Forrest is our oldest, then Kevin, then Robert, and then Casey, our only girl, who is out youngest at 10 years old. I texted them, and this should be a good show. I can see the moment that Brandon and Rave saw what I texted. They couldn't believe it either. But he never felt the pain of it. Is he stupid? Justin was finally the one to ask. If I didn't have a tube down my throat, I would probably have laughed. Clearly he is. I never left the pack, especially in the first 5 years. It is a known fact. We had no trespassers, so it was impossible for it to have happened. But Blake was jealous and irrational. He didn't like any of the male wolves to even brush past me. Graham told him that I was a liar and a cheater and that nothing that I said could be believed. My boys looked just alike, only Kevin had my coloring. Blake was so blinded by anger and jealousy that he believed it all. He told the whole pack I cheated, and that Kevin was not his son. We have been ostracized completely for the last 4 years, I texted them back. I had Graham recorded as he admitted to his whole plan, what he had done, and what his plan fully was. But I never got to play it for Blake as he would react violently when we argued. I was scared that he would destroy the evidence and make a plan to escape. I knew the end was near as he got Blake to do something that I never thought he would do. He started cheating on me with several of the she-wolves in the pack about 6 months ago. Even though he knew it was my bottom line. I could come back from anything but that. But your dad had already warned me that he would get Blake to do it, years before he did. I never thought Blake would ever hurt me so much. All in an effort to break me. Blake insisted that as long as I apologized to him that he would keep me, but Kevin had to come and live with his dad. I sent out the next text as they were reading the last one. It was silent in the room, and I knew that they felt bad for what Kevin and I had to endure at Black Moon. I am so sorry for what you went through. I have felt that pain, it is excruciating and memorable. I am sorry that Graham is still an evil bastard, and I promise you that I will be taking care of him personally, Cole said to me. I felt his concern for me, as that has been my life for the last 6 months. Thank you, I texted back. I have felt it as well, and Dad isn't lying, it is the worst pain that I have ever felt. Just like childbirth, but not as long as childbirth, Raven said, and I nodded. It is very similar. Was that the end of Graham's plan? Because knowing him, it can't be, or you would have left when the cheating started, Cole said, and he is sharp. He got it quickly. I nodded no to his question and started typing again. His endgame was to have my oldest, Forrest, kill Kevin in a fit of anger. Blake loves Forrest, and would not have punished him for it. He really believed that Kevin was not his son, no matter what I said. Don't worry, he knows now, or will soon. I left a DNA test with him, so he would know. I also had Kevin send all the things that I had saved as drafts to him while I was driving away, as well as the video recording of Graham admitting his whole plan. I made sure Blake knew when it happened as I filmed the time and date on my laptop before I put my phone down to record our conversation. Blake is probably now aware of what a piece of St. Graham is now. Blake has a vicious temper. I am pretty sure that Graham is locked up now. I just wish it has never happened. Kevin left my phone on the side of the road across the street from the entrance to Black Moon. I was not going to take a chance on him tracing me with it. He knew I was going to leave him after the Reagan incident. But he has always been swift with punishment. I am sure that he knows just how big of an it he is now, I texted them. They all silently read the question and then Brandon looked up. If he is that possessive and controlling, how did you escape? He asked the burning question, and the tears start falling again as I told them what I did to get us free. I always had warriors with us when I gave driving lessons to Kevin. The night before we escaped, he slept with his number 1 girl who was a warrior and had asked at dinner to come with us. I refused, the car was full. I had my plan in place and I wasn't going to deviate from it. I had stopped ordering so many of our regular extras, the dry goods, for the pack. So I could funnel some money for us to be able to run away. I was always ahead so no one noticed, as we still had plenty, we just worked out of my stockpile, instead of the new stuff. She slept with Blake and he told me when he came to our bed, that she was coming with us the next morning. We had a fight, but I will not lie. Shooting her was not hard for me to do. The other two were I texted them. This is it. No coming back from it. While they read what I typed, I continued typing my confession. My mom and Cassandra had come with us. We were only 5 miles from the pack and I didn't have time for us to fight both warriors. I was weak, and I wasn't going to be able to do it, and I couldn't take the risk of Kevin getting hurt fighting with the male warrior. I took Blake's gun the night before I left. I knew he was busy with her, I could feel it. I used my keys to get into his office, and into his locked drawer. I feel horrible that I had to kill an innocent warrior and Cassandra, but Graham had put me through hell for the last 7 years. He didn't care what he did to who, as long as his bottom line was not touched. I am so very sorry, Raven. I am. She didn't deserve it, she deserved better than Graham. But he needed to feel the same pain that he has caused so many others with his vicious plans. Cole, I am sorry to you as well. I was crying as I was typing and took a deep breath before I hit send. It was all done now. I watched the shock come over their faces as they read what I had sent them. I wanted to get ahead of it, so I started typing again. I wanted to give Raven some peace, and Cole as well. I know it had to have hurt them both to see what I had done. I saw the tears in Raven's eyes as she realized that Cassandra was gone. I felt the tears sliding down my face, but I didn't wipe them off. I was sorry and I wanted her to see how sorry I was. I could have driven off, left her there on the side of the road with Mom. But that would have left Graham off, scot-free. He would have received no punishment at all for all his heinous acts. I needed him to hurt like I did. He set this all in motion. His need for vengeance over anything else. I needed him to lose his mate too, to know how I felt when he took mine away. When he forced him to betray and abuse me with his actions. I will never be the same, why should he? I may not have been thinking clearly at the time. He had slept with Kara the night before, and then again right before we left the pack for the driving lesson. He showed me over and over how little I mattered to him, just following Graham's instructions to the letter. Never allowing me to leave. Forcing me to stay, be tormented by the pack, and feel the pain from his sleeping with others. I wanted him to realize that his actions were the direct reason that he lost his mate too. I hope the goddess punishes him in this life, and the next. I texted Raven. You don't have to apologize to me, Cheryl. I knew you were trapped, you had no choice but to do what you could to try to escape your situation. I know very well how Graham is. She stood by him and allowed him to have me tormented and abused on a daily basis. I was almost killed by Reagan. They never punished anyone. I am more sad that I couldn't ask her why she allowed him to do that to me. I was just a child. She never once stopped him or protected me. I am sadder at the missed opportunity to get some closure than I am about her death. She was never once a mother to me. I have no fond or sweet memories of her. Only the abuse and watching her stand with Graham, and have no concern at all for me. She always backed him, and I didn't matter to her, at all. I have a mother. Her name is Olivia. She has been the one there for me from the moment I met her. I only wish that she could have been my mother from the start, not Cassandra. Cassandra was Reagan's mother, and I accepted that fact a long time ago, Raven said, and I can hear the pain in her voice. I can also hear the truth in it too. She only wanted some closure, and I realized that I could give that to her. I started typing quickly again. 2 months back, I spoke to Cassandra. It was our first real conversation actually. Blake was cheating on me at that moment, and I was in a lot of pain. She told me a lot that day. She stopped because she knew what was happening to me. I had never spoken to her like that ever before. She told me how Graham cheated on her, and her dealing with the same pain throughout their relationship. How she was angry with him for a long time for his betrayal but eventually forgave him. How she told me that I could choose to do that as well after Blake proved to me that he could be the man he once was. She made Graham wait for over 20 years to atone for his mistakes. But this is the weirdest part. She knew. She knew what was going to happen. She knew that for me to escape, I had to kill the guards. She knew that to get Graham back, I was going to be killing her too. It was like the goddess showed her exactly what was going to happen. She told me that I was going to have to make tough choices soon. No one knew we were leaving. It was just me. I hadn't even told Kevin yet. I just told him 2 days ago so he would be ready to go, and know his pain was almost at an end. I sent the text to them, and immediately started typing again. I know it sounds crazy. I know it does, but she was so calm and matter-of-fact when she spoke to me. She was in a good place and told me that she only had 2 things that she regrets in her life. That is what she did to you too. She said she was a young and spoiled girl and Graham promised her the moon. She made the wrong decision, and she said that rejecting you and not defending Raven were the biggest mistakes of her life. Those were the 2 biggest regrets in her life. She made mistakes, she acknowledged that. She said that she wouldn't be able to tell you how sorry she truly was, and thought that you two would never believe her even if she did. But it was the craziest thing for her to approach me and say all that, and then encourage me to make the hard choice. There was no way that she could have known what I had planned. I was very careful. I have to believe that the goddess let her know what was going to happen. Still knowing that, she asked to come with us anyway. Even knowing that she would not be returning from it. What I did was hard. The hardest thing I have ever done in my life. My heart is hurting over my actions. I am not a violent person. But after I shot Kara and the warrior, Cassandra had time to try to argue with me. Try to reason with me. But she said nothing. It was like she knew that for Graham to finally pay for his actions, she had to die. If she had spoken or said anything to me, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it, and Graham would have dodged his punishment. No one facing the threat of being shot doesn't try to reason with the person behind the trigger. She didn't. She knew what Graham had done to us, and I bet she knew his plans for my son. She seemed to be at peace, despite how crazy I am sounding to you. I sent out the text. I know that they are going to think that I was completely crazy. I was there, and it didn't make sense to me. Only the sound of breathing was heard in the room. No one spoke. I knew they were going to think I had lost it. I guess instead of a cell, I will get a nicely padded room. They had all stopped after reading the last text and were looking at each other with stunned expressions on their faces. They don't believe me, I knew they wouldn't. They seemed shocked by what I had just alleged, but I was not lying to them. I felt I needed to send out one more text. I swear to each of you, that I am not crazy. I swear she knew it, without me telling her. I never mentioned it to anyone. I tried to make it as painless for her as I could. I told her I was sorry to do it to her. I am sorry for any pain that I have caused you. I hit send and watched them check her phone again. Chapter 113 Cheryl's POV. Raven turned back to look at me and said, "No, you are not crazy. Cassandra's family is directly descended from Selene, the moon goddess herself. The goddess obviously let Cassandra know what was going to happen. The goddess had come to me in a dream a long time ago to tell us that something else was going to happen. The fact that you told no one, should let you know it was indeed the goddess's will for you to be successful in letting you escape. Cassandra knew that she was going to lose her life today, and was prepared for it. She wanted to make it right for you, Blake, and Kevin. It seems like I did get my closure after all. Knowing that she told you this, so you could relay it to us, was a comfort to me. I feel like she specifically said it to you because the goddess already knew that you would be coming here for protection. I didn't even know that I was coming here, so it would have had to be the goddess to know that. I was thinking about going to the human city to live, actually. I was going to drive several states over, and raise Kevin. But for some reason, I felt compelled to drive here and then called Leander. I didn't even know that I was coming here when I left Black Moon until I got to the city. I felt like I should call my brother. I don't know how Cassandra could have known this unless the goddess really did tell her what was about to happen. I texted them back. I am stunned now, but I felt better now that I know that the goddess knew that I would be safe here, and led me back to Blackadder. It makes sense. I have never seen our oldest children just connect with anyone like they did with Kevin. It is not that they are rude to anyone. It is just that they are very cautious when meeting new people, and it takes time for them to build a connection with someone. But they were fast friends in less than 10 minutes. The goddess seems to be at work in this. I believe that as well. Brandon stated to the room, and they nodded in agreement. I have to say that I have not seen Kevin this happy, for years. He was smiling, and it has been a while since that has happened. He is less stressed, and clearly happy at being here. But I can completely understand if we can't stay. I texted them. Why can't you stay? Where are you going to go? Raven asked. I was banished. I have broken the law, and I made the deal that as long as Kevin was protected I would tell you where Graham and the other were. I can accept my fate. Just please take care of my son. Blake may have realized his mistake now, but that doesn't erase 7 years of abusive behavior. I won't go back, and I don't want Kevin to go back, no matter what Blake says to you to try to get him back. As long as Graham and Forrest are there at Black Moon, it will not be safe for Kevin to go back there. I texted them. He is safe here, and so are you. We will not be pressing any charges against you, Brandon said to me. I appreciate that, but the fact remains that I killed 3 pack members from my pack today. That will be carrying a whole new, and much more serious, set of charges. You taking care of Kevin will set my heart at peace, and I am good with that. You are good parents, and I can see how well your child behave. You have done a good job with them. I can accept my punishment knowing that this is where the goddess wanted Kevin to be. I texted them back. My heart was happy. I did what Graham said I wouldn't be able to do. I protected my son from him. Kevin is no longer there to be kicked around, bullied, or abused. We are done with them, and Kevin now has friends his own age that like him, and want to be around him. Even if I was put to death for my actions, I will be accepting of it. So, Luna Cheryl, you mentioned to us that you were held prisoner at your pack. Not allowed to leave, and if you did leave you were always with warriors who were told to make sure that you could not escape. Is that correct? Council member Emerson asked me. That is correct. Blake was paranoid that I would leave him, or leave to come and cheat on him with Brandon here, so I was not allowed to leave. I don't go shopping, I didn't go out, or to dinner. We had about 5 date nights out at restaurants, mostly to celebrate our anniversaries. But no, I could not go get in a car and leave on my own. The first 7 years, it was because I was scared to leave in case you found me. But the last 8 years, I was basically under a kind of house arrest, mainly because of the rumor spread around by Graham about me. I texted his answer to him. He nods and goes back to typing on his cell again. I would like to tell you how much I appreciate you relaying that to us, Cheryl. I also needed some closure as it hurts to be rejected. I had no explanation for why she did it all those years ago. It helps me to know that it was just for petty, stupid, and childish reasons. It does make me feel better to know that now. It also made me feel better to know that she did feel bad about turning her back on Raven being hurt at Silver Blade too. I have been angry with her for so long about what happened to Raven at Silver Blade. That was one of the real reasons why I wanted her found. I needed to know why she allowed that to happen, instead of just giving my pup to me like I told her and Graham to do. Alpha Cole said to me, and I nodded to him. Cheryl, to clarify, was Kevin allowed to be hurt, knowingly, at the Black Moon Pack? Council member Emerson asked. Yes, he was bullied quite badly by pack members. Pushed, shoved, and just this morning our oldest child had his friends try to hold Kevin. That was how he got the black eye. I am proud to say that Forrest got one too. Kevin is a strong fighter and all he ever wanted was for his dad to give him any kind of encouragement. But Blake refused to say anything positive about him. Kevin works out harder than anyone, as Blake really likes for his men to be in peak physical condition and excellent fighters. As a matter of fact, Kevin is now sparring with the adults now. I believe it was originally intended for him to get hurt in training, as he was now stronger than Forrest. He never complains, he just keeps trying as hard as he can. Just know that we had to leave, sir, we had to. It was a matter of time before Graham would have had Forrest kill Kevin. I wish I had kept my phone, but I didn't want them to be able to track or trace me with it. I texted him my reply. Cheryl, I am thinking that there is a way to get the recording back. I think that would be all the proof that we would need to show that your hands were tied as a prisoner of Black Moon. That you had to do what you needed to be able to escape because that was clearly a certain death situation. I believe that we can get you past this, Luna. Cheryl. I was already watching your pack as one that we believed Graham was hiding at. I thought it was odd that every time we came there, it was a total of at least 6 minutes that we had to wait, to even get through the gate. We are supposed to have immediate access, but we never had it at Black Moon. Blake had an excuse for it every single time it happened. We had the same problem at Blood Tracker too. Just not as long a wait. We never saw any of you there. Can you explain that? Council member Emerson asked, and all eyes directed towards me. Graham gave all kinds of money to Blake. Blake knew if we were found there that he could lose his pack. He refused to give me up, and Graham was his cash cow, so he refused to give him up too. He was stuck with 5 of the total 6 of us there. He built an underground bunker that sat midway between the pack house and Graham's home. My parents lived with Graham, so we split the difference. By the time you made it up the drive to the house, we had already had about 10 minutes to get where we needed to be. If Graham and Cassandra were out, Blake would just mind link them not to return until you left. But the phone is a problem. I don't know if it had a locator on it or not. He could have had one, which means he has probably found it by now. I just wasn't going to take the chance on Blake being able to trace my location. But I can't go with you, and Kevin was the one to throw it out of the vehicle. He thought it was funny that he threw it across the street from the entrance to Black Moon. I actually wanted to go back, and leave the SUV across the street for them with the keys hidden in the console, as I don't want any kind of reminder, or help, from that pack. I refused to owe Blake anything at all. I typed out for them. Yes, we knew you couldn't go with us tonight, but would you consider allowing Kevin to go with us? I will guarantee his safety. I think that we will need that video for us to be able to move forward and for you to be able to not be punished like you normally would for it. It will be dark in an hour and it will take us an hour and a half to get there. I think that we can get someone to run some interference for us, while we search for the phone. Instead of leaving the SUV that we are returning across the street, we could park it in front of their gate. They would have to climb over the wall and by then we would be gone. That is if the gates turn outward as you enter. If they turn to the inside of the gate, we might have a problem, Alpha Cole stated. They open outward, but there has to be another way. I just cannot lose him, please. I risked both of our lives getting him to freedom. Please do not take him back there. He cannot be around Graham. Graham will kill him for what I did to Cassandra. He won't hesitate to do it. He would do it just to hurt me, and Blake. Please, Raven, Kevin cannot go back to Black Moon. I texted Raven. We will not go alone, Cheryl. You are not aware of this, but we have been training for over 15 years now, for an upcoming war. A war that I now suspect will be with Blood Tracker and Black Moon. They are not aware that we now know who our opponents are. We finally have the upper hand. We have been training for a long time and we have several hand-to-hand experts, snipers, and regular marksmen. We also can work with bows and arrows when we are coming in silent. I swear to you on my life, I will not let anything happen to your son. He would come back safely with us. I would go, along with Justin and Leander, Cole and Council Member Emerson, and I will hand-pick our best men to go with us, Brandon said to me, and I am still shaking my head in the negative. It is too great a risk for me to allow it. I will be going too, Brandon. Who do you think the distraction will be? Raven said, and I still refuse to let Kevin go. It is just too risky. I don't think that is a very good idea. It isn't safe, and I would be focused on the kid. I do not want you getting hurt, for any reason. You are my mate, I worry about you, Brandon said to Raven. I agree, I will want to make sure that Kevin is protected too. I don't want something to happen to you there either. I heard what Cheryl said. These people are clearly dangerous, and I don't want to take the risk of you getting hurt either. Justin agreed with Brandon. Plus they know who you are, Raven. Blake came here for training before. He wanted to see what his competition was. He was very angry that you and Justin both managed to beat him. He is unbeatable in our pack, so it was a serious ego blow to him that not just Brandon beat him, but Justin did too. He ended up sending Travis back here for future training. Travis had a big crush on Reagan. Even with Blake warning him to leave you alone, he still came here, and from what I hear, he propositioned you. They would recognize you just for looking like Reagan, at least the senior men would, and the ranked wolves. I texted Raven. They can all see the fear showing all over my face and I am shaking my head no. I started typing on my cell phone again, but stopped when I heard, I will do it. I know that you can't go, Mom. If you need it I am pretty sure I can find where I threw it. Don't worry about me. I will be fine. I can tell that they won't let me be in danger, and if we go tonight, they will never even think we would return. They think we are long gone by now. Plus I am smaller than the grown men, I could stay hidden better, Kevin tells me, and I can tell from his way of thinking that this is like a spy mission from those action movies that he likes. I wonder just how much of what was said did he actually hear. I just cannot take the risk of something happening to him, and I started texting again. I cannot allow this to happen. I won't agree to it. No. He cannot go. Blake will want him back now, as he knows that he is indeed his pup. He would use his having Kevin to get me back. I know that we won't be able to survive this. I cannot lose him, please don't take him back. I will pay for my crimes, do not let Blake get him back. He will never truly be safe with Blake. I texted Raven. Or if you want to pay for more such audiobooks, you can send us a request in a private Facebook group, or join us on WhatsApp. A link is given in the video description. The rest of the audiobooks will be uploaded in the next episode. Join us on Patreon to listen to more unlimited audiobooks.